Christian, XC1 review covering Las Vegas and the world last week. The Las Vegas Raiders had their NFL draft class. They're now part of the silver and black. And here, of course, we welcome back NFL reporter, sports journalist Maurice Moton, of course, also radio broadcaster, podcaster. He's an NFL analyst and breaking news team writer at Bleacher Report, also a writer for Silver and Black Today. And you may have seen him in the past on CNN of all places. Maurice, it's always great to have you on C1 Review. How are you, sir? It's so great to have you back.
Good to be back, Chris. A lot to talk about, of course. Raiders just packed their draft class, ready to roll. The rookies are at minicamp already, so let's roll.
Yeah, here's my question. What do you give the Las Vegas Raiders draft as far as a grade goes? It seems like a balanced approach draft of both offense and defense, but honestly, what do you give them?
Give them an honest B. And it's a B simply because I felt like, and they did this, SpyTech did this last year where he traded down in the second round, and I know it's probably driving some fans nuts that he does this instead of taking talent, but felt like they should have went with a wide receiver in the second round instead of trading down. But I get it. SpyTech says they like their wide receiver room. That bodes well for Jack Bech, who they drafted last year in the second round. Dante Thornton Jr., who had some playing time early in the season before he eventually got benched. Trey Tucker, who's still around. They signed Jalen Nail. So I get it. They have a bunch of guys that they believe in. Of course, you got Brock Bowers as your number one pass catcher. But if Jack Bech doesn't take that leap, you're putting all your eggs in his basket to do that. And if he doesn't, Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza could struggle under center, but you have Brock Bowers there, but he has to stay healthy because we saw last year, Chris, if Brock Bowers goes down, that offense is unwatchable. That passing attack is unwatchable.
You know, I had a further question before you even made that point, and I'm just going to jump to that. Were you surprised, I guess you were, that the Raiders waited to 185 with Malik Benson to take a wide receiver? I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, it surprised me simply because the rumors out were that they were going to target a player who could help Fernando Mendoza early in the second round. So, of course, Fernando Mendoza was the number one pick. In the second round, they were going to go wide receiver, offensive line. And that was the word out. And I strongly believe in that. If you want your rookie quarterback to get off to a good start, you get him an offensive lineman or a pass-catching option. They didn't do that. Now, they went with Tre'Davious Stukes, safety out of Arizona, and I like Stukes. But I just felt like there was a better position that they could have addressed in that spot. They didn't do that. As you said, they waited to 185 to get Benson, and SpyTech talked him up. Benson will probably be a back-end roster guy, but I think there's a lot of weight on last year's draft class. Again, that 2025 draft class with Bech and Dante Thornton Jr., those guys are going to have to step up.
I agree with that. So here's the question. So the Fernando Mendoza discussion, let's just go to where I want to go to on this front. You know, in recent years, we've seen rookie quarterbacks, they get it out of the box right immediately. Historically in the NFL, they used to have some seat time. They used to watch a veteran play. Are they going to give Mendoza that time to learn before they put him out there? In my opinion, they should, but will they?
This is the big question with the Raider Nation, Raider fans right now. And I think this is the right approach. You have Kirk Cousins go out there, start the season. He's an experienced veteran, obviously. He knows Clint Kubiak's offense. They were together in Minnesota. And Kirk Cousins played at a high, I believe, a Pro Bowl level. So it makes sense that they brought in Kirk Cousins, who, by the way, wants to be a starter for at least another year before his career sunset happens. I get that. You sit Fernando Mendoza. You don't rush him in. A lot has been made about him playing in an RPO-based offense. But a lot of these young quarterbacks play in an RPO-centric offense. He's not anything different. But I think having him sit and not having to rush him into action is a good thing. Now, the Raiders' offensive line was not great last year. Some of that is because of the coaching. As you know, Pete Carroll's son, Brendan Carroll, was coaching the offensive line. That was a disaster. A lot of questionable personnel decisions. I expect the offensive line to be better this year, but there's still some meshing that has to go on there. Who's going to be your left guard? They got Spencer Burford, who used to play for the 49ers, familiar with Clint Kubiak, but that spot is still unsettled. DJ Glaze, not a settled starter at right tackle yet. I feel like they should have added stiffer competition for him, but I guess they believe in him for now. But that offensive line, I feel like it should get settled for a few weeks before you stick Mendoza in there. I expect Kirk Cousins to play at least half the season. Now, if he's turning the ball over recklessly, then you're going to see Mendoza a lot earlier than you may want to. But if he's playing through 3 quarters of the season and Mendoza comes in late November, post Thanksgiving, December, I'm absolutely fine with that.
He rallied the Falcons at the end of the year and played great at the end of last year. So it's just kind of like, here's the whole point, and this is the example I'm going to use. And now, because you're a national NFL analyst and breaking news guy, Bleacher Report, you can discuss everything in the whole league. You could anyways, but the point be told is here's what I'm going to say. Bryce Young, first year, got killed. Second year, this guy's never going to be anything. Third year, everything finally clicks. The Panthers go to the playoffs. They win the NFC South. Here's my response to you in this regard. I think that we can learn, the fact be told is that had Bryce Young had a little bit more seat time, maybe his situation would have been better. But thankfully, the Panthers were willing to give him 3 years. But sometimes the fans, the personnel, whatever, they're not willing to give you that much time. So I just feel like, do we really want to have that kind of situation here? So why not just give Cousins the chance to show what he's got still? He played great at the end of last year, and sooner or later, Mendoza's going to be on the field anyway.
And I think they will, simply because the Raiders are going about things much differently than they did last year. When Pete Carroll stepped in, he was basically in his mid-70s, 73, 74 years old. He was trying to win now. And you saw some of the moves that they made. It's like bringing in Tyler Lockett, who's in his 30s at wide receiver. Some Alex Kappa at guard, a veteran offensive lineman. Now, with the Raiders going into this offseason with Fernando Mendoza, Spytek being on a long-term deal, Clint Kubiak being a first-time head coach on a long-term deal, I think they're going to be more patient with building their roster. And you're going to see that leak into the quarterback position, where you're not going to see Mendoza right away, though it is the norm in today's NFL. You want the quarterback out there because you want to see what he has. You want to take advantage of his rookie contract. But at the same time, players aren't eligible for an extension until their third year. So if he sits out 1 year, you lose 1 year, fine. You bring him in the second year. The offensive line has gelled. Your wide receivers have matured around Brock Bowers. Ashton Jeanty possibly gets going. Clint Kubiak has a feel for the offense. All of this stuff can click at the same time Mendoza's coming in and learning the pro league.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. To me, that's what I want to see, and I hope for the Raiders' case they go in that direction. So speaking of the other side of the football, Traden Stukes, K'Ron Crawford, Jermud McCoy, and Dalton Johnson. Who do you like in this group? What were you proud of? What were you excited to see?
Very excited about Jermud McCoy, and there was absolute value there when the Raiders moved up one spot to get him in the fourth round. I get it. He tore his ACL, missed the whole 2025 season. But there are questions about the knee, but he's fine right now. Just saw video. He is out on the practice field right now. The question was the longevity, the degenerative issue with his knee. How long will he hold up in the league? Because right now, after he was drafted, doctor said his knee is fine. He's good to go. He's practicing. The question is, how long will he play? And before he got hurt, before he tore that ACL, he was up there. He's arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the league, up there with Mansour Delane, who went to the Kansas City Chiefs at number 6. So the Raiders essentially get a first-round talent in the fourth round, and that's when you take chances with some of these high upside guys. If McCoy never plays it down, fine, it was a fourth-round pick. But if he does get on the field for at least the first years of his rookie contract, you have a potential starter, because let's remember Darian Porter Jr. didn't play a lot of cornerback in college. He had 1 full year at the cornerback position, was a wide receiver transition, and he may not hold up opposite Eric Stokes, who they re-signed. So if McCoy can get on the field for his first few years and he's a starter, great. You get the most out of him, and you see where it goes from there. But he did say that if the Raiders recommended him to get another surgery, that he'd be open to doing it. Though I will say reports are that if he does get another surgery and doesn't go well, it could jeopardize his career.
We need to add NFL draft analyst to your long list of accomplishments.
I wish.
No, you're good. I mean, seriously, you broke that down in a way that most people would never be able to break it down. So let's talk about current Raiders. Just what do you make of the whole Max Crosby situation? I'll just leave it there.
Oh man, that was a long saga, and I was of the belief that Max Crosby didn't want to be traded, simply because you understand the Raiders have needed a quarterback over the last few years after the Derek Carr era, right? And you're Max Crosby, and you've played through that. And here the Raiders are sitting at number 1, and it's very obvious that they were going to take Mendoza. I didn't understand him wanting out unless there's something else going on behind the scenes. Now, there are some rumors out there that didn't rub shoulders well with Guerrero, who's Brady's former trainer, and the recommendation of shutting him down kind of rubbed him the wrong way, and that's why he wanted out. He was happy about joining the Ravens until it didn't happen, and the Ravens backed out of the trade because they felt like there was an issue with his knee. He comes back to the Raiders, and he's happy to be back. But at the same time, you're thinking in the back of your head, Spytek traded him once already. He was okay with letting him go. Was that more of a Spytek decision, or was that Max Crosby pushing that he wanted his way out? And the reports are that Max Crosby wanted his way out. So the question for me is, if the Raiders don't start off fast and Mendoza's not playing early, now we both want him to sit, but if the Raiders are struggling early, does Max Crosby want out after the 2026 season? Do we have to revisit this? There's just so many questions around Max Crosby and his long-term outlook with the team now that he was already traded once and he seemed pretty excited to leave. So as the kids say, you can't unsee that. That actually happened. So are the Raiders going to placate and try to keep Max happy, or is this Max putting on a happy face for now through the season, and then we revisit this and have the same conversation in 2027? That's what I'm looking at. But for the right now, the Raiders have an elite pass rusher, and that's great with the pieces that they added in free agency. Kwity Paye's back there. They re-signed Thomas Booker. Malcolm Kuntz is back on a 1-year deal. You add the 2 linebackers, Clay Walker and Nakobe Dean there. So their defense is a lot better with Max Crosby. I want Max Crosby in Las Vegas. It's a matter of, is he happy there?
Yeah, I think you summed it up quite well, and that's exactly what I was looking for. What are your expectations for year one? Is this more year 2 playoff team, year 1, let's win 6-7 games maybe? What are we looking at, you think?
I'm looking at about 7 wins. Not a playoff team yet. Like as you said, Kirk Cousins did play well at the end of last year. So let's not just dismiss Kirk Cousins as the reason.
No, I mean, they could win 8 or 9 games, and that could be good enough for the wild card.
They can absolutely win 8 or 9 games. And with Kirk Cousins, if he protects the football, stays healthy, because the issue with him the year before last was he had an injury that he didn't disclose with the team and didn't disclose publicly, and he said that impacted his gameplay. If he's healthy and protects the football, they give the ball to Ashton Jeanty. He gets going in his second year. We can have a strong run game. Brock Bowers stays healthy. All of a sudden, you're looking at a team that's competing for a playoff spot in December, which the Raiders have not done in quite some time. But this team can absolutely get close to around 500, and who knows what happens. Injuries happen every year around the league. We don't want to see it, but it happens, and you have to take advantage of those opportunities. And the Raiders, in my opinion, are in a position to do that with 2 of their star offensive players, in Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers, coming along in that new Clint Kubiak offense. I've been waiting for an offensive-minded head coach, a young offensive-minded head coach for the Raiders, and they finally got that after going with Pete Carroll last year, and I think it's going to have a major impact on the personnel that they had last year and the rookies coming in this year.
Oh, I agree. I think it's a brand new time for the Raiders. Listen, the Chiefs showed that they are beatable last year, and so the reality is I think the division is up for grabs again, no?
No, I agree with you. Absolutely agree that the Chiefs, the shine of the Chiefs kind of came off last year. Now Patrick Mahomes gets hurt at the end, but they weren't making the playoffs anyway before he tore his ACL. So this is a team that's vulnerable. They're aging. Travis Kelce is back for another year. I believe it's his 14th year, but he isn't the same player he was a few years ago.
Can't even believe that, by the way.
Mahomes is coming, as I said, coming off of an injury. He's pushing to be ready for week 1, but you all know with these ACL injuries, you may be back on the field, but you may not be back to your 100% self in that first month. So the Chiefs could lose some games early, and it could allow some other teams in that division to take an early lead, or potentially, sneak ahead of the Chiefs early, and maybe the Chiefs are at the bottom of the division. They're scrapping for a playoff spot. Maybe they're scrapping for a wild card spot in December or January. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Last question. Who are you most looking forward to seeing in the preseason games?
Oh, good question. I actually, now everyone's going to say Mendoza, of course. That's like the obvious question.
Yeah, well, I was expecting you wouldn't go with the obvious. That's why I asked the question.
I'm not going to go with the obvious. As far, you want to say rookies or just in general?
Rookies, I guess, or someone who maybe is a vet who joined the team. Someone who's new. How about that?
Someone who's new. I'll cheat a little bit. I want to see the linebackers. The Raiders haven't had stability at the linebacker position in I don't know how long. A lot of people say Kirk Morrison, who some people say I look like. I don't agree with that, but a lot of people say that Kirk Morrison is probably the last consistent linebacker the Raiders have had there, and for them to go out in free agency and grab 2 starting linebackers was a positive change. And a lot of people don't talk about linebacker play, but I think it's very important. A lot of the top defenses in the league have at least one Pro Bowl, All Pro linebacker, or a high level linebacker in the middle of that defense. Let's remember the linebacker is the quarterback of your defense. And if you have that position solidified, a lot of times you're going to have a much improved defense, and that's what the Raiders need to compete in that division, AFC West, and potentially, again, as we said, sneak into a playoff spot.
Maurice Moton, NFL analyst and breaking news team writer at Bleacher Report, of course, also at the Silver and Black today. Find him at Mo Moton, MoeMoton on X. It's down in the description below. As always, Maurice, as always, so enjoyed talking with you about the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm excited about to see this year's team. I think it's going to be a fun season, and I'm excited for new beginnings, and I know that you are too. And thanks as always for being with us.
Chris, I call this the great Silver and Black reset. I hope that comes to fruition and we get a team
I like that.
That's ready to get into the playoffs and make some noise and play some meaningful games in January. We need to see that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.